What we've learned is this childhood vaccine schedule is not what we thought.
It is frustrating and honestly unfair that people like Dr. Peter McCullough, a former cardiologist who spreads anti-vaccine information, can go on news shows, sound confident, and spread misinformation that terrifies parents. He speaks in a way that makes it sound like he knows what he's talking about, but when you actually break down the claims, they fall apart under real science and clinical experience. I'm a practicing pediatrician. I see kids in real life. I keep up with the latest research, and I'm here to set the record straight on childhood vaccines, not based on fear, but on facts. Let's discuss each claim with some facts and much needed nuance.
And now critically looking at it, we have a situation that we just learned that the World Council for Health, now international body, is calling for a complete moratorium on childhood vaccines. First international organization to call for that.
Okay, first red flag. He says that the World Council of Health is calling for a moratorium on childhood vaccines. That might sound concerning, but here's the thing. The World Council of Health is not a respected medical organization. This is a fringe group that has repeatedly spread misinformation, including about COVID-19 and vaccines in general. If we were hearing this from major organizations like the CDC, WHO, or the American Academy of Pediatrics, groups that base their recommendations on years of research and real-world data, that would be worth looking into. But they aren't saying this. In fact, they continue to strongly recommend childhood immunization and oversee their safety, including, practicing pediatricians.
Why? Because the vaccines are piling up one after another. They're being given in multiple salvos. There are safety events now that we learned.
Now he claims that vaccines are piling up and that there are safety events. This is misleading. Yes, we have more vaccines today than we did decades ago, but that's because science has advanced, and we now have the ability to protect kids from more serious diseases, and that's a good thing. The idea that more vaccines somehow means they're unsafe isn't true. Every vaccine goes through safety trials before it's approved, and even after approval, we have extensive safety monitoring systems in place, like the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System and the Vaccine Safety Data Link, to catch any potential concerns. Now, are there risks to vaccines? Yes. Like any medical intervention, there are potential side effects, but severe reactions are extremely rare compared to the risks of the diseases these vaccines prevent. When we look at the data, the benefits far outweigh the risks.
In 1986, the U.S. passed legislation that indemnified the manufacturers of vaccines. In that legislation, it says the vaccines have unavoidable harm.
Now he's bringing up the 1986 National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act, saying it indemnified vaccine manufacturers and that vaccines have unavoidable harm. This is something I see repeated a lot, so let's break it down. Yes, the law was passed to protect vaccine manufacturers from being sued out of existence, but that doesn't mean vaccines are unsafe. It was meant to ensure that vaccines, something we need for public health, would continue to be made while also providing a compensation system for people who experience rare vaccine injuries. Rare. And that phrase, unavoidable harm, is being taken out of context. It doesn't mean vaccines are inherently dangerous. It means that like any medication or medical procedure, there's a small chance of a reaction. But the key word here is small. The vast majority of people tolerate vaccines well, and the risks of skipping vaccines are far greater than the risk of a rare side effect.
So what are the harms that we're seeing? It's clear when the vaccines are given in multiple rounds. It's probably not no single vaccine and no single additive, but it's the sum total of the vaccines given at once. We're seeing a strong signal towards neuropsychiatric disorders, so attention deficit disorder, Asperger's, autism, seizures, allergic diseases, asthma, atopic dermatitis,
and even death.
Need for termination, sudden infant death syndrome.
Now he's throwing out a long list of conditions: autism, ADHD, seizures, asthma, allergies, SIDS, and implying that vaccines cause them. Let's start with autism. The idea that vaccines cause autism came from a 1998 study by Andrew Wakefield. That study was later completely debunked and retracted, and Wakefield lost his medical license for falsifying data. Since then, multiple large studies like the 2019 study that followed over 650,000 children have confirmed that there is no link between vaccines and autism. SIDS is another one I hear a lot, and the reality is actually the opposite of what he's claiming. Vaccines don't increase the risk of SIDS, they actually reduce it. Studies show that vaccinated infants are about 50% less likely to die from SIDS than unvaccinated infants. And then he throws in conditions like ADHD, seizures, asthma, and allergies without any solid evidence. There's no strong data linking vaccines to asthma or allergies. He's listing conditions that parents already worry about and trying to tie them to vaccines, but the science doesn't support it.
And then the converse now. This is the converse, which is papers by Mawson, Hooker, Miller, Thomas, and an older Amish study. All 5 studies show if children go natural, no vaccines whatsoever, they have the best outcomes. Wow. Freedom from these things.
Now he's referencing studies by Mawson, Hooker, Miller, Thomas, and an Amish study claiming that unvaccinated children have the best health outcomes. None of these studies are reliable. The Mawson study, completely flawed. It was a self-selected survey with a tiny sample size and no medical verification. The Hooker study, retracted for data manipulation. The Miller and Thomas studies, cherry-picked data published in low-quality journals. On the flip side, actual data shows that vaccinated children are less likely to suffer from vaccine-preventable diseases. I get it. As a parent, it's unsettling when someone with a medical title confidently tells you that vaccines are harmful. But let's be clear, Dr. McCullough is a cardiologist, not a practicing pediatrician, and he has been widely criticized for spreading misinformation, particularly during the COVID-19 pandemic. The truth is, vaccines are some of the most extensively studied medical interventions we have. We're not just making guesses here. There's decades of real-world data from millions of children, and that data consistently shows that vaccines reduce the risk of serious disease. If you have concerns, that's completely valid, but I encourage you to look at high-quality, large-scale research and talk to people who actually work with children every day. Misinformation spreads easily because it plays on fear, but when we break it down claim by claim, you can see how much of it falls apart. If this video helped you understand this topic better, feel free to share it because every parent deserves real information, not fear-based headlines. And as always, I'll see you on the next one.